Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters and the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and I'm here today to tell you about a really cool and a much needed product called the Omnispool. And these things come to us from our friends at Omnispool over in South Africa, believe it or not. But these guys apparently are big fans of our YouTube channel here. We appreciate that. And they contacted us, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, and got me dialed in with these things. And I tell you, there isn't hardly a day that I don't use this switch box system now. In fact, as many of you know, we do a lot of warm water fishing. I do a lot of lake fishing and also love my sink tip and full sinking fly lines, and therefore I'm switching out lines quite often. And there used to be a Rio line winder box, I believe, and it's been, I don't know, it's maybe been 10 years since they discontinued those, and I used to have a bunch of them. But they were not the best design out there. Well, lo and behold, Omnispool was also aware of those and aware of the need for folks like myself and many of you out there to have a line winder box that really worked. And they came up with a great system, and I want to just walk you through some of the features. So again, my line winder boxes you'll see when I rig up for a day of fishing, or if I'm going on a trip. I'll throw in the reels that I'm going to need for a particular trip, and then I've got the lines that I may wind up using, and then some of my Omnispool accessories right here, and then of course my line cleaner and everything, and that is in my new Sims GTS reel vault, which we'll talk about real soon. But this thing's been traveling with me now for a little bit, and the Omnispool system is really pretty simple, but it does have some cool features that are worth talking about. So first of all, it's just a little box and then the spool system here. And what you do is you'll see a slot down in the middle, and you run the tip of your fly line through the hole in the box right here. And you run the line all the way down through this spool, and then you take your handy crank. Of course, you have to have a blue crank and a green crank, because you wouldn't want to use a blue crank on a green box or a green crank on a blue box. That just is not good form. You're going to run the tip of your fly line if it's on a reel. Okay, run the tip of your fly line or even the leader down through the hole in the spool. And what I do is just get it all the way through, and then you put your crank in, get it started slowly, and it'll catch. And then you can easily pull that line right off the reel. Now typically what I do is I go ahead and I just pull the entire line off the reel, making sure that you don't get it tangled up at your feet, whether it's on the floor or the floor of the boat. And then that way I can easily pick the line up. You can also have a buddy hold onto your reel, lessen the drag system, and pull it right off the reel as well. It doesn't matter, whatever's most convenient or whatever you prefer. And then you get it all spooled up, and it also comes with a little label here, and you can label exactly what it is so that for future reference you know what you've got. And then I can store it, have it there at the ready for when I need it. And then when you do want to switch it out, then of course the rear end of the line is going to be right there. I usually have a loop and a bimini twist in my backing, and I'll loop that line on. And then you can either have a buddy hold on to the spool, or this is kind of cool, you can attach these such that I always have to look at the arrows. Thank God for the arrows on here. And where are the arrows? I know. So it's got arrows and tells you how to do this. You slide it in as such. Okay. And now what I do is just put this on the floor in front of you, or especially if you're in a boat, which is usually my case, you can put your feet right on here and then just crank the line onto the reel, making sure to space it on, and that's a really cool system for setting it up. And you're going to have more than one of these. So the cool thing about this is doing this on the boat, it's always been a pain in the past, but you're always going to have a couple of these. I usually have about 5 or 6 different lines with me and fish in a situation like this, and there are handy little arrows on here which tells me to slide it this direction, so I can attach one box in this vertical position and one is horizontal. I can set it down on the floor of the boat, and now I can easily just crank that right up without any trouble. It gives me good tension on the line. I make sure to evenly space the line on the reel.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
There you go. Fly line's locked and loaded, ready to go. Put my switch boxes back in the kit, and then when I need to swap them back out again, I make sure, obviously, to put the Fathom sinking line back on the proper spool, and off we go. I rig up a leader and go fishing. Setting it up here so that you can easily get that nice positioning for this. Hold it in place with your feet, crank it up with the reel, and off you go. So some of the other features that this has is there is such thing as the line care box. And the line care box will fit right onto the Omnispool. It goes over the hole, and what you can do is take your line cleaner and squirt a little bit of line cleaner on the line care box, and as you are doing this process, get it good and saturated. It's got some kind of felt pads in there. As you're doing the process of spooling the line onto the reel, or for that matter when you're putting it away, it'll clean and dress your line. Keep it nice and lubricated, which we all know is extremely important to clean and dress your fly line on a regular basis. So that's a feature that I, of course, really love and I wind up using a lot. I almost always, when I'm putting a line away, I'll almost always attach the line care box, and of course there is an arrow telling you exactly where to do it. Also, another feature is these Arbor Spacers. And the Arbor Spacer, what that does is just snaps right around the spool itself, the white part there. And the Arbor Spacers are going to increase the size of the arbor. So if you're putting braid or monofilament, something that might get coiled up if it's in really tight coils. For example, I've got a, this is the one I use for a full sinking fly line, which is very thin and doesn't take up much space. And I don't want it coiled up around that smaller spindle. So I put the line spacers on there, and it's going to keep that line on there in much larger coils and prevent it from coming off there and being all coiled up and needing too much stretching. So the Arbor Spacers are pretty cool, and it's a good accessory to have, especially if you're fishing thinner or thin sinking fly lines, or putting braid or monofilament on these, which a lot of people do. So it comes in several colors, green and blue, and it doesn't really matter because you're going to label it on the side anyway. So, you know, pick your favorite color, off you go. The Omnispool switch box kit, it comes with the Omnispool, it comes with a crank, and it comes with the line care box. The Arbor Spacers are sold separately. You can also then buy the switch boxes themselves individually, because you're probably not going to need another crank and you're probably not going to need another line care box. So you can buy these individually, and then if you lose your crank, or obviously you just want to have a green one for your green spools like I do, you can buy extra cranks, and then the Arbor Spacers are sold separately as well. These spools will also hook together, so if you've got them in a bag like this or in your luggage, They're not banging around or maybe running the risk of breaking or anything like that. And there's a spot here with arrows, one arrow going that way, one arrow going this way. You just slide them up in and off you go. Boom. And all your switch boxes can hook together, and then you've got all your labels facing this similar direction. So really, really handy. I'm using these things a ton. I'm storing all my lines at home, down in the man cave or on these. And man, I tell you what, it's really a huge organizational benefit for me. In fact, when I first got these about a year ago, I went downstairs and figured out that I had fly lines everywhere and I didn't know what they were. So now you can label them, everything's all neat and tidy, and then I can carry my accessories with me here. And when I need to swap out a fly line from a sinking to a sink tip or a sink tip to a floating line, I can easily do that out on the water and have a great place to store it moving forward. So there you go, friends. You can check these out at madriveroutfitters.com, of course. And we appreciate you watching, as always. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Like this video. That really makes us feel good, and we appreciate it. And please stay tuned, because we've got a lot more coming at you. If you like this video, hit subscribe. It helps out a lot. And check out these videos. We think you might like them too.